shut today, so fat chance of that, right?
Chortle.
So, okay, right now, Roscommon County Board of Commissioners work session, November 10th, 9:00 a.m., accessible via Zoom. Item 1, designate assessor Jody Valentino and Jamie Hauserman. I don't know if Jamie's out there or not. Okay. Jamie, if you wanna,
Yeah, Jamie's here.
okay, do you want Jody, or you want Jamie to go first, Jody?
I think Jamie will do the best job of explaining how we got to and what exactly a designated assessor is for. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Where's she at?
Well, if we can't get her, I can start.
You can possibly go over and get her and she can.
Is she here?
Hang on just a second, Jody. She's not even there. She's home then. Okay, you said she's on? All right. She's not in the building, Jody, so go ahead, you're up.
So essentially, the state of Michigan has made variations of changes over the last year and a half to assessing and equalization. And one of those changes that directly impacts us is the need for every county to appoint a designated assessor. Essentially, your designated assessor would be the person who came into a local unit of government and took over if the local unit of government were to fail the testing and the processes that the state has put in place to double check assessments. Initially, we had approached one of the respected assessors in Roscommon County in regards to serving in this position as designated assessor. That was the first choice of the state for us to do. That person, after several months of thinking and reviewing contracts, declined. There is not another assessor in our county that is willing to take that role on. The biggest part of that is you are basically signing on to cover that local unit of government for up to 5 years. And that was the stickler for most of them, is they wouldn't want to necessarily be responsible for another township for a 5-year period. Of course, you also have to be certified to a certain level, which knocks out several of our local assessors as well. So Jamie Hauserman and I have discussed this in length. There is a way for the county to simply say that their equalization department would take over as a designated assessor if their equalization director qualifies. However, that puts you in the position of essentially being the equalization director, essentially being the boss of the township for up to 5 years. And everybody knows the townships don't necessarily like it when the county takes over. Our third option was to contract out to one of the groups or services or individuals that the state has said meets those criteria to serve as designated assessor. Of course, Jamie Hauserman's husband, Mike Hauserman, and then herself as an employee are one such business. The thought was if we appointed through a contract a designated assessor, then those fines and fees would come directly from the township to that agency and wouldn't be passing through equalization. You're looking at the potential of, if you took one of our largest townships, you are looking at the potential of a full-time job that we would have to hire if we were to come on as equalization, plus additional work for your equalization director. So it would be a little bit easier to contract out. Jamie has been putting together a contract for you to review. If you're okay with contracting out with her husband's business. If not, then we'd have to look at it from the county point of view at this point. I will add that the deadline is December 31st, and we have to get all of the townships on board. So,
So as far as getting all the townships on board, does that mean that every commissioner is going to be responsible for going to each one of their townships to explain this to them and tell them what we're looking at doing? We need to have their blessing, in other words, right?
well, I love you guys, but I think it would be better if Jamie and I, one of us went with you. They would actually need to put this on for formal discussion and a formal motion. So I think we would want to tag team it.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm just thinking out loud here, but I know Asabo has got a township meeting at 9 o'clock this Saturday. Otherwise, they won't be meeting till December. So to get it done by the 31st, to get you guys to all 11 township is going to be kind of Herculean at this point. And Gary says tonight. So, food for thought in the next day or two here. So,
I'm kind of looking for which direction you'd prefer us to go. If you would like us to go the contracted route, or if you would prefer to do through our equalization department.
Mr. Milburn?
Jody, I wrote down, when you were giving all the things, I wrote down contract. I like the idea of contract. It keeps it separate. We don't have to get involved in all these other, it doesn't become it doesn't become its own independent department. I like the idea of the contract. What we need to do is probably just get a letter out to the townships, time dated, then follow up with a phone call. You know, the best person for that is going to be Jamie, because she knows all the players and Jody knows the players.
Okay.
So
All right.
I would lean on with Jody and Jamie come up. I mean, I can go talk to Diane Randall and Carolyn Corlew and Bob Spalding, but at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to those township supervisors putting this together for us. But now that we're in time, I thought Nestor was the other night, I went to that, and Denton was the other night, I went to that too. So I only got one more township that has a meeting, so we need to send a letter out probably on Thursday or Friday. I'm sensitive, we probably need an answer back by, well, I mean, we need an answer back before Thanksgiving.
Okay. Jamie Hauserman, can you?
She's gone now.
She's gone now. Okay, Jamie's gone now. Okay. Jody, why don't we see if Jamie can get that letter out to all the townships? And then, like in my particular case, if we could get that letter out, I could even hand carry it to Asabo on Saturday morning and present it there with the letter from Jamie, and probably I think I can probably walk my way through it, but I'm looking at a contract also. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like the way to go.
All right. Ken?
Keep our fingers out of it.
I'm also in favor of the contract method.
Okay, but we're you know, the biggest thing is we're under a gun to get this done by the 31st of December, and technically, actually by the 18th of December, because that's our last board meeting of the year. Hey, Jamie, are you out there?
Can you?
We can't hear you real well.
All right. So for whatever reason, I'm not coming in clearly. Can you hear me now?
Anybody get that? Okay. Well, Jamie, if you can hear me, Jamie, we're looking at you doing a letter to explain this to the townships and mailing it to all 11 townships as fast as you can do it.
Yes, sir. I got that.
Okay, all right. So we are hearing you a little bit better now. Anything you need to add?
All I can say is that all the townships are very aware of this level of legislation, and they're all very much in support of us going ahead and having me do this on their behalf.
Okay, and everybody is in favor of the contract?
That's my understanding, Bob. I've already reached out to all of them with many options, and the majority of the options circled back to them just having me do it through equalization.
Okay, well, Ken just identified that he's on board. Mark identified that he's on board, Tim's on board, and I'm on board. David's not with us today, so let's move forward on this, okay?
Correct. And just so that you understand, it's not that we're late to the game. Every county is as far back as we are, if not further back. There are still counties that do not have a person.
Right, right. So, I wasn't worried about that. I knew that this was something that just has come upon us, and so we're doing the best we can. So, thank you.
Correct.
All right.
That's the way everybody in the state is working right now.
Okay, good. Anybody have any other questions in regards to the designated assessor for the county? Okay,
If there are any
Item
follow-up
number-
questions, Bob, please go ahead and have people call or email me.
okay, thank you. Okay, item number 2, proposed collective bargaining agreements. Did everybody get a copy of the labor union contract negotiations for contracts expiring on December 31st, 2020? Okay,
I got an email.
okay. Jody, you're up again.
Okay, so pretty fast and simple. What all three unions, we have our Sheriff's Police Officer Association of Michigan, POAM. We have our E911 Police Officers Association of Michigan, POAM, and the Sheriff's Command Officers Association of Michigan, COAM. What they have all requested, as they all expire on December 31st of this year, is a 5-year contract beginning January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2025, with an 8% raise over the life of the 5-year contract, with a distribution of the 8% as 3%, 2%, 1%, 1%, and 1%. The POAM sheriff and COAM sheriffs will also be requesting, and personnel has approved all of these as an agreement, an increase in the fitness incentive from once annually to twice annually, inclusion of the paid medical leave for 40 hours, inclusion of dry cleaning services for corrections officers, inclusion of the sick time incentive program, no change in health, dental, or vision insurances unless we reach that gap, that cap that the state has set every year, no change in MERS, an increase in allowable mileage for patrol cars from 120,000 to 130,000. Removal of language stipulating that the retiree medical is only eligible to those who retire within 90 days of eligibility of retirement. Clarification on language regarding pay for military drills. And as far as the Police Officers Association of Michigan, change to the overtime pay language to reflect historical practices. Essentially, their language does not reflect how they currently accrue overtime. This is not an issue in the Command Association, or Command Officers Association of Michigan. With the Command Officers Association, the COAM, their one difference is an increase in the shift differential for the sergeants to $1 from 50 cents. That's basically in hopes of helping to recruit new people to apply for the sergeant's position. So as those things come to pass. For the 911 Police Officers Association of Michigan, like I said, it's that 5-year contract with the 8% raise, same distribution, inclusion of the paid medical leave, inclusion of sick time incentive program, and additionally no change in the health, dental, or vision insurances.
Okay. Any commissioners have any questions in regards to the 3 contracts? Start with you, Ken.
Well, first question is, I only sat in for David on one negotiation session, and I identified with the sheriff a problem in the Marine Patrol. I don't see anything in here where that is essentially addressed.
Oh, you know what? I'm
I don't
sorry.
think-
Yeah, I'm trying to work from home and everything I have was in the office because of this quarantine. And that slipped my mind, Ken, thank you. There is a change in the rates of pay for the Marine. It does go to a 3-tiered scale.
Okay, and on that note, since this is the first time I've been allowed to weigh in on this negotiation since that first session, I personally would like to see some type of, even if it's a temporary change to the pay scale for the frontline employees that interact with the public, like, or the corrections department that has to interact with the prisoners. I'd like to see an increase, even if it's temporary, for the corrections frontline workers and the road patrol frontline workers, due to everything that I have become aware of recently as far as the crime situation in the county and the COVID situation dramatically changing in the county.
This is something you want in a contract?
I would like to have it addressed. I don't know if that's possible or not, but those would be my suggestion and wishes for the frontline workers.
Well, the reason why I say that, Ken, because if it's a contract issue with you, it's on to be passed today. I believe on our motions, isn't it?
Not today. The contract is set to go in 2 weeks, so we could discuss it in
2 weeks.
The only
But
thing
But I'm just saying is this something that we have to go back and negotiate with, or is this going to hold things up? Or is this something, a separate issue?
Isn't this covered by the COVID money?
Bob,
I thought this was covered by the COVID money.
Bob, it's Jody.
Yep.
I can answer all of those questions. First, I think there's a couple different issues. The first one is that the unions did bring this already and all 3 have ratified. So we would have to open everything back up again. I'll be honest with you, your budget is also already set. So you'd be going back to the table on that, and you have to have that budget approved by December 1st. So it might be something you would want to look at next year. And you'd have to sit down with the union again and get approval to reopen that contract. If you wanted to make some sort of a change. If next year you want to do another hazard pay under that budget with maybe some of the excess grant money, I think that would probably be more appropriate. For that, they did get the $1,000 grant money this year for the hazard pay. And certainly I think next year, looking at that at the beginning of 2021, once we know where all that money has fallen, is not a bad idea.
Well, I just want to get clarification for this year because we're voting on this in 2 weeks. And all 3 contracts that have been agreed with the unions, that was one thing that was not brought up. I just want to make sure that out of respect for Ken, he's bringing it up. I want to find out if he's insisting that we go back and renegotiate this with everybody. Because I feel at this point, it's something that's unfortunately or fortunately is going to have to be said. I agree with Jody, he's going to have to wait till next year. So Ken, where you at?
Well, if I can get a solid promise from the rest of the board that we will look at this next year, that would be the only way I would vote yes on approving this contract in 2 weeks. I just feel they deserve more than what we're offering at this time, but if we can work that into next year, I will agree to that.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think we can give you a promise. Anybody else give them a promise?
I appreciate Kenny's recommendation, that the budget's solidified, and instead of costing, saying it's an 8% pay raise, I just like to use the word cost of living increase. As Kenny knows, most of the guys here that are older than 60 or 65, if you're getting your social security goes up X amount, there's more, I always consider those cost of living. I appreciate Kenny's recommendation, but I think at this point, we need to solidify the budget and move forward until next year. Obviously, we don't know what next year holds. We always will open up discussion. And I can appreciate the fact that we'll discuss in the future. But as far as promises for the future, that's very difficult to do because we don't know what the future is going to hold. But I can promise him that I will certainly listen and learn and review anything that he throws in front of me as far as for strong consideration, because obviously every year we need to listen to everybody's comments and recommendations. And I would always listen intensively, but whether I can promise anything, I can't do that. But I can promise that I'll listen and learn. I'll make good recommendations based on next year's budget. Is that good enough for you, Kenny?
Yeah, kind of. I just, I don't know. These guys are out there putting their life on the line to protect us every day, and I just want to make sure that they are taken care of as well as we possibly can from the board aspect.
Okay. Tim, you got anything to add?
No, it's definitely something that we could look into next year. They signed their contracts. We pretty much approved our budget for this year. But like I said, I don't have a problem next year looking into this. Yes, they do deserve more money.
Oh, and listening to Mark and Tim, and I appreciate what you're saying. Like I say, I kind of have to piggyback on Mark's comments. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone next year. I don't think we could give you a yes today or a no today. I think it's something that we need to look at, though. But I think the consensus I've got from the three of us sitting here in front of me, or the three of us sitting here, is that we definitely take a look at it. So with that, I don't want to hold up that in the contract, and I want to get this budget out of the way, so we can go from there. Do we need any more discussion on it?
No.
Okay, all right. Anybody else got anything as far as the contract? I went to Mr. Melvin first. How about you, Mr. Milburn? Any comments as far as what Jody went over?
Good, thank you.
Okay. And then the only thing, and then Tim, anything? Okay, and then Jody, the only thing that would have to be added to that is that Marine Patrol, which Ken did point out, okay? Jody?
Yep, correct.
Okay, so that would go under the first one, which is the Sheriff's Police Officers Association, Michigan, right? Okay, and that was agreed on in the contract, so thanks for pointing that out, Ken. All right.
Well, I'd
Number
like
three.
to thank the rest of the board for responding that they would agree with me to have further discussions on this
Okay,
at a future date. Thank you.
all right. Okay, anything else on that? Okay, item number 3, runway 36 obstruction removal proposal. Mr. Eric Jarosz, are you out there, sir?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Okay.
Can everyone hear me?
You're going to give us the short version?
This is going to be short and sweet. Okay, the host, whoever the host is, can we bring Keith Newell? He's got the PowerPoint presentation that we're going to be watching here. Are you in?
Keith can clear the screen. Is he in? There he comes, I think.
Okay, there we go. All right,
All right.
so We're just going to run through this, and if any of the county commissioners or anyone else has any questions, please interrupt me so that I can answer questions as we move through this, okay? All right, so as a summary, we are to maintain a 20-to-1 glide path for every 20 feet forward. We are allowed to descend 1 foot. That's the 20-to-1 glide that you see there on the screen. And at this point in time, we have trees obstructing into that 20-to-1 glide. Okay, it creates a safety hazard for pilots. Okay, so the objectives, we're just going to focus on the two in the red there. It's always been my goal is to seek the most fiscally responsible long-term solution for the county and for the airport. And then also to provide a fair and equitable arrangement for all the parties involved. I think we're there, but we're going to touch on each one of those as we move through. Okay, so after many discussions, many meetings, phone calls, and things like that, the best solution for the obstructions in the approach is to remove those trees. It's the safest solution, the best solution, and so how do we get there? Again, through many discussions at the committee meetings, discussions with MDOT, with the FAA, with the DNR, land acquisition is going to be the best and easiest way. Yeah, so there we have conducted discussions with the DNR, Aeronautics, Pine and Newhoff, our engineering consulting firm, of course, with the airport committee and the FAA, and with the private landowner as well. So again, you know, the solution here has to be fair and equitable to all parties. I think we're there. We need the Board of Commissioners to move. So this slide here shows you the runway approach to runway 36 there that you see at the top in green. In the red are where the trees are located in the approach to runway 36. That's in the red area. That's the approach zone. The approach is trapezoidal in shape, and it extends out from the runway end, which happens to be a displaced threshold, and it extends out in a trapezoidal shape. And that red is where the offending trees are, and that light blue area is the private owner's parcel, 20.3 acres. We'll get to that. Okay, so in the circle there, you see that's where the offending trees are. If you see the planned runway 422 there, that is a future proposed crosswind runway. And so on the north side there, that green square is a 40-acre parcel that the airport owns, okay? And of course, you can see runway 1836 there to the left. And then to the south of that are, as the private landowners, 20.3 acres. Okay, next. Okay, so here we have in the blue, we have the private property owners, 3 parcels there. It's Mr. Blasky for those that don't know. So you have the 40.8 acres, you have the 11.3 acres, and you have the 20.3 acres. That's where the offending trees are located. Okay, so Mr. Blasky's motivation is to seek a solution where he has access to all of his properties and keeps his pole barn structure that's located on the 20.3 acres. Right now, he legally does not have access to his 11.3 or his 40.8 acre parcels, okay, legally. So he's trying to find a solution. Okay, so the first phase here, we're gonna do a land exchange with the DNR. Okay, so would be that land exchange from that north 40 to the south 40, okay, the green section there, if I can point there, all this right here is state land, okay? I can't point, okay. So after discussion with the DNR, they are on board with doing a land exchange at North 40 for the South 40 in between Mr. Blaskey's 3 parcels there, okay? Maybe you could run that thing one more time, Keith, so people have a good visual there. Okay, so we're gonna swap these 2. Okay? And the DNR is on board with it. And the one reason they're on board with it is because now on the north side of the airport along the Cut River there, they have a contiguous state land piece. So that's really the most important reason why they're on board with this, so that they don't have that 40 that we owned interfering with the rest of that state land up there on the north side of the airport, okay? Okay, so this would be the result on the north side there of the airport. It's would be all state land bordering the Cut River. And then the county then would own that 40-acre parcel mixed in there with Mr. Blaskey's 3 parcels on the south side. Okay, so phase 2 now would be the proposed land exchange between the county and Mr. Blaskey. Okay, so let's focus in on what we're talking about here. We're talking about the 20.3 acres in that 40-acre block that the county would now own. And so we're going to start exchanging pieces. We're going to give Mr. Blaskey some land. He's going to give us some land. And we're going to provide him with an extra 20 acres. 20 plus, and then we are going to also grant him a land easement, okay, from his section of that 20.3 acres where his pole barn is located. He's going to have a legal access to his other hunting properties, okay? By doing all of this, now we can go in and clear cut that approach to runway 36. Okay, we would own that now. The county would own it, the airport would own it, and we control it. That's the big thing here. But we're also really helping Mr. Blaskey here by allowing him access to his other properties now, so that he can hunt those properties legally. Okay. And you see the magenta checkerboard there. Again, that's the approach to runway 36 with the land easement. You know, that's a blue hash mark there. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is kind of before the mitigation land exchanges. And this is after. We would own, the county would own, the airport would own that magenta trapezoidal piece there on the approach end of runway 36, okay? Before and after. Okay, so the benefits, really it's gonna be, for the county and the airport, it's gonna protect that approach in perpetuity because we're gonna own the approach. For the DNR, they like that North 40 piece because now they're going to have a contiguous piece. And then for the private property owner, he will still maintain ownership of his pole barn and the land that it sits on, that small section there. And he's actually going to end up with some more property there. And then also, more importantly than anything else, is it satisfies the requirements for MDOT to maintain our 20-to-1 glide. And I would also make a suggestion that that proposed future runway that we talked about just a few minutes ago, That project likely will never happen. We already have a crosswind runway that's 1836, and we could possibly at some point in the future expand that runway or improve it, make it longer. Okay, so in summary, what we're trying to do here with the mitigation project is to enable a safe glide path for runway 36 and also a safer departure on runway 18. Okay, so obviously, if we're successful in doing all this, I feel like all of the stakeholders are going to be satisfied, and the outcome is going to make everyone happy. Obviously, there's a lot of work to be done. Land surveys, title and deed work, environmental assessments, and an updated airport layout plan would be considered a simple update. But the most important thing that needs to be said here is we need to develop a plan to expedite the clearing of the trees from the approach path as soon as possible. Okay? That's the important thing. All right, so this is kind of a financial layout of the project, the entire project. Okay, so if you look at the blue circle there on the upper right-hand corner, that 332,000 would be for clear cutting that approach zone that we would then own. Okay, that's an estimated cost by a tree cutting service to go in there and clear cut everything. And the important thing to understand there is that we can use our AIP money to do that. The county would be on the hook for 5%, just like any other project we do on the airport, but it is eligible one time to clear cut it using AIP money, Airport Improvement Program money is what that stands for. So the 36,000 there is what the county, it's an estimated number. I'm just going to call it 40,000, but that's the estimated number the county would have to put out of pocket to execute the entire project from start to finish. Okay, not including the clear cutting. All right, so if we could just focus on the $40,000 number, that's the number the county would have to pay out of pocket to execute the entire project. Okay. Estimated timeline, we're kind of, as an estimated timeline, we're kind of behind the 8 ball here. Not bad. The one thing I want to point to is if you look at January 22nd of it would be 2021, hire the tree cutting service for the initial topping of those offending trees that are in the approach. Okay. The trees have been identified by GPS coordinates. And so that's kind of a time critical thing. And so my ask here is that the Board of Commissioners, if you're going to have discussion on it, please do. And, I'm asking that you would consider moving on this at your next Board of Commissioners meeting, which I guess is on November 25th. This here is a proposed draft motion, which is going to be tweaked as necessary. Section A, the exchange of county acreage north of the airport for Michigan Department of Natural Resources acreage on the southwest side of the airport through the execution of a land release. We have to do a land release with the FAA for the North 40. We have to go through the land release process. Okay. MDOT is on board with the concept. The FAA is on board with the concept. It takes a long time. It's I'm told 12 to 18 month process to go through the land release. Okay. And so going back to the other slide, I personally, as airport manager, I don't want to wait 18 months to take care of the offending trees in the approach, okay? Section B there, the exchange of a newly acquired acreage with private property owner Michael Blasky with the acreage due west of the newly acquired parcel. Section C, providing the property owner Michael Blasky with the additional acreage of roughly 20 in exchange for the private owner to top the offending trees during the winter months of the 2021 winter season. D, the creation of a land easement through county property that will connect the two parcels of property, private property owner Michael Blasky. And then finally, E, the approval of $40,000 to cover the engineering work, appraisals, surveying, processing fees, and cutting of the trees. So this is just a draft. We have discussed this very draft at the last airport committee meeting. If we need to tweak it, then we need to tweak it. Is that the last one? Okay, that's the end of the presentation. I'm open to any questions, comments, concerns.
Mr. Milburn, Chairman of the Airport Committee, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On number E, every commissioner has a copy of it in front of them, Eric. Just
Okay.
put down the approval of upwards of $40,000. Because my business dealing with the government since 1974, if you put down 40,000, we'll spend 40 grand. I like the idea of 36. This gives us some flexibility, but I like the approval of upwards of $40,000. If we can do a little bit more fine tuning, maybe, because it says roughly 20 acres like a number C, can we hammer down just a few more fine details before we get it to the commissioners on the 25th? Just a couple of things that are just maybe a little bit more fine tuned. I hate the word roughly.
I believe Jody was going to work on
No, I know
a
that.
cleaner version.
Just a little bit cleaner version is what I'm looking for. Because I think 90% of it, 95% of it is really, really good. We just need to fine tune just a couple of small particulars.
I think if I can jump in there for a second, Mark.
Please do.
In order for us to fully understand how much of that 20.3 acres we would take ownership of, we would have to have that piece surveyed. Okay, and hence that's why the word roughly is in there, because we haven't had it surveyed and we don't know the exact amount of acreage that we're going to take ownership of. Okay, now
I understand. I like the fact that we could just put roughly 20.3. Just anything that we can do to hammer it down even more definitively. I think it's good for us and it's good for Mr. Blask and it's good for the commissioners. So if we could even add the word roughly 20.3, I'm fine with that. Just I always like some parcel numbers and things of that nature. If we can grab any of those parcel numbers, it's good for the future. And 100 years from now, when somebody's reviewing these documents, they'll go, what were they talking about? Because Bob and I have been on the board a long time, and we've looked back in some of the things that have happened in the past commissioner meetings, and we critiqued some stuff of the stuff in the 80s and 90s. We've had to go back and fine tune a little bit. So 20.3, any parcel numbers you can come up with. I'm not trying to get too picky-unish. It may appear so, but the nice thing about it, after all we're gone, anything we can do to make it fine-tuned will be better for us. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with the work that's been done, the committee. But by and large, most of this work's been done by Eric. So I want to make sure credit goes where it's due. Eric has really worked hard on this, along with his team of experts. So thank you, Eric.
I can't stress enough that, I think collectively we've all wanted to have this whole project to be fair and equitable and for all the parties involved. Okay. Yes, the county has to spend some money, but I think everyone at the end of the day is going to be happy and satisfied. But more importantly, the county and the airport will own that approach to runway 36, and it will never be an issue. After I'm dead and gone, it's not going to be an issue. So that if you kind of focus on that, that's the key piece. That's the key takeaway here.
Yeah, I agree with Eric. I focus on two things: safety and for the future of the airport. This is a safety thing because we need to have it so we can have our pilots be safe. And obviously, if we do a good job in this regard, the future will be in good shape. Because it really is, it's a county airport for the citizens of not only us, but for the entire state who will use it in the future.
Hey, Ken, any questions?
Just that,
Ken
I
Malcolm.
think the airport committee and Eric and everybody else involved, Jody, and have done an excellent job on this. Just like Eric says, I think it's the best solution to the current problem that we have, and it will take care of this problem as quickly as possible.
Okay, Tim?
I agree with the other two commissioners. It's something that needs to be done, and we're gonna do it, might as well do it right.
I have two questions. One thing that may need to be put in here, there's nothing in this thing and saying anything about this building that Mr. Blasky owns on that affected property. And I just know from my experience over the years is that I have no problem with that building staying there, but I think it may need to be spelled out so that he's got access to it on county property. So I think
Bob, really, really good.
I would, and I say that on behalf of Mr. Blasky, I would think that he'd probably want to have that also. So the other thing is, I'm looking at the cost, and I'm always the guy that questions cost. We're talking about $40,000. Is that going to cover everything, or is it $40,000 plus $36,000?
No, no. The $40,000 covers the entire project. Okay.
So that covers our portion of that money, right?
Correct.
From
That now,
from
no, the 40,000, just so everybody understands, the 40,000 is out of pocket for the county. Okay, that don't get that confused with using our non-primary entitlement money or our AIP money. Okay, that's out of pocket for the entire project. And of course, it's my hope that, well,
Which covers our port, out of that 40,000, the engineering work, the appraisals, the surveying, the processing fees, and the cutting of the trees. That also includes our 5% in that 40,000, am I correct?
we don't, forget the 5%. That's not part of this project. Okay, the 40,000 is it.
Okay,
The 40,000, and it's my hope that we're going to come in under that, you know, as the project moves forward. Okay, but you know, you just need to understand that it's out of pocket. We can't use federal money to do this
all right. I understand that part, Eric.
for the clear cutting.
Let's get to the long and short of it is, we're going to exchange 20.3 acres. We're going to get 20.3 acres, and Mr. Blasky is going to get approximately 40.
Correct.
And it's going to cost us $40,000 to do this.
Correct. Now,
Upward to 40,000 or less than 40,000, one or the other, but it's $40,000. My next question is that money cannot come out of this year.
correct.
When it comes up next year, do we have that money? And I guess that's my question for Jody.
Well, in some creative areas, yes, we will have the money. Eric and I have discussed this and looked at some of those potential COVID grants that have come through and some different areas where we could utilize funding for that. And we believe that we should be able to do this without much of a hurt put on the county.
And if I could add, the good news here about the financial piece is you don't have to drop 40,000 on the table, okay? We're gonna pay for each phase and each section of this project as we go. All right, so it might be a few thousand here, might be a few thousand there, you know, but it's kind of pay as you go through each piece of this. Okay, we don't have to drop the 40,000 on the table right now. Does that make any sense? Does everyone understand that?
That makes
Eric.
sense to me, but I've got a business mind, and I'm telling you what, it's a couple thousand here and a couple thousand here, and the next thing you know, somebody's telling me it's 60,000. That ain't gonna fly.
That's why I made the comment, Mr. Chair, upwards of 40. And I appreciate the fact that what we'll do in there, Eric, if you can hear it, it says it'll say, we include Mr. Blaski's will receive full access to his property. I think it's important that you said that.
To his building,
Well, just put to his property. The building property, okay, property / building.
you gotta be careful there, so just take a look at that.
Okay, we'll fine tune.
That
The
will,
building,
Huh?
the building gonna be on the east.
The building's gonna be on our property. It's on our property. It would be on that 20.3 acres, right?
no.
Place
No.
his property.
He is going to maintain ownership of a small piece of that 20.3 acres where his pole barn is located. He will
Okay.
maintain ownership of that.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, okay. I think that needs to be spelled out so that there's no question.
Okay.
Next thing you know, there's a question over a building that we don't own that sits on our property.
If
I
you
know
look
how
at
those-
that, if you look at this slide here, that triangular piece, that light blue triangular piece is where his pole building is located on that piece, and he will maintain ownership of that. The only thing we want is the defined approach off of that 20.3 acres. Okay?
We'll include it, Bob.
Okay. All right, this motion needs to be tweaked. I don't know if I'm 100% on board with doing it on November 25th, but I'm thinking maybe December 9th is what I'm looking at. We need a little extra time on this.
That's good.
I-
That's good with me.
I want to make this clear is I want to make sure that, and Mr. Blasky, are you out there in Zoom land by any chance?
He's not here.
Okay, so I think there needs to be, we need to have his input on this too, because he's a player in this and
Well, we've had,
I want to make sure that, you know, I mean, I believe you guys, when he says he's on board, but I don't need any surprises either.
No, that's good, Bob. I would rather bring it in front of the board on the 9th and have all questions answered.
Okay, and I, you know, I wouldn't mind having Mr. Blasky here if he could, if he would so not mind to attend. So,
With that being said,
so,
we have a meeting on December 3rd.
so I would suggest that we,
Why do you need to have a meeting?
Well, we want to fine tune it one more time. If there's any fine tuning.
I think Jody was gonna take a look at it and clean
I'll
it
go
up
with
to
that
make
then
it
too.
and
Go
make it a cleaner version for that is appropriate to be approved by the Board of Commissioners. I don't think the airport committee needs to have another meeting to clean that up.
I'm fine either way. I just want to make sure that we bring it, I'll go with any suggestion that seems appropriate as long as we can bring it in front of the board on the 9th.
okay. And what I'm asking for on the 25th is that you come back with a cleaned up version for this to present to us. And then we will put it on, with approval of the board, we'll put it on for looking at the 9th of December, okay?
okay.
Okay, sounds good. I'll sit down with, I'll probably stop and see you next week, Eric. We'll fine tune it and we'll bring it in and let all the players look at it, let the commissioners look at it. we can talk about it one more time on,
And I'd like to have a copy of that presentation, Eric, if I could, please.
Okay, we'll forward it on to Jody, okay?
All right. I'd like to get a copy of that to everybody. And then by the 25th, before the 25th, I'd like to have a copy of the cleaned up draft. And do we have to have the Department of Natural Resources and the FAA, do we have to have some assurances from them?
we're good.
All right,
You've reached out.
okay. All right.
Oh.
Ken, anything else we've missed here?
I guess the one question I will have is who's gonna redo the draft motion?
Eric, I'm going to redo the draft motion and then I will forward it to you at
Okay,
the beginning of next week
okay.
so that you can double check. The other thing that I wanted to add, just so that the commissioners are all aware, is that Mr. Blasky has attended every airport committee meeting that we've had.
He's here now.
And he is with Eric,
He just walked in.
yes, in the meeting in and of itself. So his input has been sought through the airport committee, which was, I think, the intention, so that that could be a more open conversation. And he obviously is in favor of this because there definitely is some benefit on both sides. And I do trust that if Mr. Blasky had an issue with anything being discussed, we would be well aware of it.
Okay. All right. Did you say he's there now?
He just walked in, yes.
Is there anything that he wants to say or anything? Since we got the opportunity and we got the technology to do it with?
I'll have a quick discussion with him after we're done here. Just let him know what we have discussed.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, all
Um,
right.
I just want to say one more thing. And then you can be on with the rest of your meeting. The airport is an extremely valuable asset to this county. And it is owned by the taxpayers of this county. It's an incredible asset. I'm not saying that because I'm the airport manager. I'm not saying that because I own a business on the airport. This airport supports 2 small businesses, and 2 small businesses support this airport. It's a great asset, and I appreciate all of your support. I thank you very much.
Okay. Ken, did you have anything else to add on the airport, sir?
Not at this time.
Okay. Mark?
No, we're good. I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate all the vetting that we can do. I'm glad that Mr. Blasky's there to hear this. And I'm looking forward to accomplishing this task here in December. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Tim?
I'm content.
Okay. All right, we got a plan to move forward, looking at the 25th to have a cleaned up draft, and then looking at possibly putting it on for the 9th of December. All right, thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 4, discussion of the whole in regards to committee reappointments. And Ken and I put that on at the agenda meeting, and basically what we're looking for is any input from any commissioners in regards to any of the committees they're sitting on now. In other words, are you satisfied with your committees for next year? Are you dissatisfied with a committee for next year? Are you interested in something else? Are you interested in exchanging for something else? I'm just looking for input so that we can all be thinking about our organizational meeting, which will be coming up. We could probably talk about the date. If I'm not mistaken, we decided upon Monday, January the 4th. Am I correct? Or did we not decide?
Haven't discussed it, but that wasn't what I was under the impression of the reappointment discussion being about, but okay.
No, but I'm just saying is we can put it on there. So, I mean, I don't care if it's the
Yeah,
4th.
whatever day you want, I don't care.
I don't care if it's the 4th. I don't care if it's the 6th, which is a Wednesday. So, but anyway, back to the committees. Ken, any input on the committees that you sit on, sir?
Everything looks good to me.
Okay, you're satisfied with where you're at with your committees?
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right. Mark?
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm fine with what I have.
okay. At this point, I'm okay with where I've got, and I did have some discussion with Mr. Russo yesterday. He's having back surgery today. He's good with his committees also, so that's good to know. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to say something ahead of time, because if we got to do some horse trading, now's the time to start doing it. So, all right. There's anything else from any commissioner? Ken?
Well, I was just looking at my calendar, and instead of having an organizational meeting as soon as possible in the first year, we just thought that we went ahead this year and had our first meeting on its regular date, the second Wednesday of the month.
Okay, so you're thinking that we can put it out there for the 13th?
You cannot because
And you have to get sworn in.
I'm just trying to get clarification here.
I'm just
Okay.
saying we didn't do that this year. We waited until the second Wednesday.
because
I
you
know,
didn't.
I know
rea-
Michelle says we need to be
elect
sworn in, but we were sworn in on the second Wednesday.
Well, the problem there, Ken, is we didn't have to elect the chairman, so you still had a chairman.
You guys weren't being sworn in this year.
Right.
We
So
have to be.
this,
Charge until you're sworn in and you have a chairman and a vice chair elected.
right. Michelle is in charge of on this 2-year cycle. Michelle is in charge of the county until such time a chairman is appointed in the new year. So, the 13th's not going to work. We're going to need a chairman and a vice chairman. It's going to have to be done on either, I would say, on January 4th, 5th, or 6th. Mr. Milburn saying the 4th. Which is,
I'll agree with Mark on that, the 4th.
10 o'clock, Mr. Chair?
at 10 o'clock a.m.
Sure.
Okay, Tim's on board with January 4th at 10 o'clock a.m. for an organizational meeting. Tim's on board, Mark's on board, Ken's on board, and I'm on board. Okay, Michelle? We got it?
Mhm.
Okay, anything else in regards to committees? All right, let's take a 10-minute break and be back here at 10:15. Don't go away, Ken.
Yes,
Ken Melvin? Ken, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to Roscommon County Board of Commissioners meeting, November 10th, 10:15, accessible via Zoom. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Herb. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Roll call of board members, and if you're out there in Zoom land, please identify yourself, where you're at and why you're there.
Russo,
Absent, excused.
Melvin,
I'm at my residence, 9460 Oakwood Drive, Roscommon, Michigan. I'm here because of protecting myself from the COVID pandemic.
Snyder,
Here.
Milburn,
Here.
Item number 4, approval of the agenda, please.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Mr. Milburn, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to approve the agenda. Any further comments from any commissioner at this time? Hearing none, roll call.
Melvin,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Milburn.
Yes.
Okay. Item 5. Motion to go into a public hearing in regards to the Roscommon County 2021 annual budget.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Mr. Milburn, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to go into public hearing in regards to the Roscommon County 2021 annual budget. Okay, we are into the annual budget.
Gonna vote?
Oh, we got to vote. Yep. Roll call.
Milburn,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Melvin.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Jody, any highlights you want to cover as far as the budget?
Sure, absolutely. So obviously, the Roscommon County 2021 fiscal year budget includes minimal changes for all funds. We are looking at a 3% overall increase in budget for the general fund from 2020 to 2021, roughly 9.4 million last year, this year to 9.7 next year. Total funds increased about 5% from roughly 29 million to 30 million. We have no services that were reduced through, and they tend to remain flat. There is no growth due to a mostly stagnant property tax level and little growth in our economic sector. The revenues, which are born mostly of statutory fines and fees, are also fairly stagnant. Retirement costs associated with both open and closed MERS defined benefits retirement programs currently offered to the Sheriff's Department employees and those grandfathered in 2008 will continue to place a larger burden on our budget. It was an increase of roughly 12% in employer contributions this year for the 2021 budget over 2020. This will continue to grow in both open and closed retirement systems until such time that we obtain the 100% funding. The overall increase in this area for the last 5 years has been 30%. Healthcare costs have been managed through creative planning, including our health savings account to cover employee deductibles, the change to Priority Health 2 years ago, and this year an increase in deductibles and change in copays for high-cost prescriptions. We are also continuing to offset those changes in the premium costs by putting more risk into the health savings account, kind of making a educated gamble. Our employee wages have been made more competitive after the completion of the wage survey in 2019. The compensation committee established in 2019 did conduct a wage review for positions and recommended a review and increase to grade 1, which is presented in this budget, and a 2% increase to the overall wage scale. Our 3 represented groups of labor force, the POAM 911, POAM Sheriff, and COAM Sheriff, will have the renewed contracts beginning January 1, 2021. Wage increases for these groups are at 3% for 2021. Allocations as requested for Central Michigan District Health, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health, Michigan Indigent Defense Fund, Friend of the Court, Blodgett Memorial Airport, State of Michigan Child Care Fund, and Michigan State University Extension have been met. It is anticipated that we will, at the beginning of the 2021 budget year, with a fund balance of slightly over 15%, the goal set by you, the Board of Commissioners, over a decade ago. I will add that while our budget for 2021 is certainly balanced, we definitely have seen a trend over the last several years of increased expenses driven by high demands on services, specifically those within our courts and our law enforcement. That is really a growing trend of our community as a whole. Additionally, those agencies that we support, such as mental health and community mental health, are growing in their needs. And I would expect shortly that we will see a request for increases of allocations to those as well. My biggest concern is that our department heads and elected officials continue to trim in those areas that they have been able, but we've placed ourselves into a position where I don't know where I'd find more money next year, or we would find more money next year. So overall, we do have a healthy budget going into 2021. I just want to make sure that those that are voting and those that are listening in on our current budget understand that we are close to a position where we won't be able to continue to do what we do without some additional funding.
Okay. Correct, and I know Ken and I have been involved in that budget process with you. I know you've done a fantastic job of putting this thing together this year, but I do agree with you that, you know, if people are gonna want additional services, we don't have the money next year for it. So, you know, we're gonna have to keep cutting any place we can cut, but you know, we're pretty close to the bone right now. So, Ken, anything you'd like to add in regards to the budget, please?
No, I think we've pretty much hashed it over well.
Okay. Since this is, and Mr. Milburn, any questions? Mr. Muckenthaler? Okay. Anything out there for the public? Anybody out in Zoom land that would like to comment on our 2021 annual budget, please? Anybody present in front of us that'd like to comment? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to entertain a motion to come back out of public hearing and go back to our regular meeting.
Mr. Chair.
A second.
Motion is made by Mr. Milburn, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to go out of public hearing in regards to the Roscommon County 2021 annual budget and go back to our regular meeting. Roll call.
Melvin,
Yes,
Snyder,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Milburn.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 6, approval of the minutes for the meetings of regular meeting October 28th, 2020, and the budget and finance meeting of the committee as a whole, October 28th.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Motion is made by Mr. Muckenthaler, seconded by Mr. Milburn to approve the minutes of regular meeting October 28th and the budget and finance meeting of October 28th. Any further discussion from any commissioner at this time? Hearing none, roll call.
Snyder,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Melvin.
yes.
Okay. Thank you. Item 7, any public comment at this time, please? Okay, hearing none. Item 8, Class A claims and accounts. Michelle, you are up, please.
Move to approve Class A's in the amount of $388,772.57.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Muckenthaler, seconded by Mr. Milburn to okay Class A's in the amount of $388,772.67. Any discussion from any commissioner in regards to Class A's? Hearing none, roll call.
Melvin,
Yes,
Milburn,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Claims and accounts.
move to approve claims and accounts in the amount of $73,933.33.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Motion is made by Mr. Melvin, seconded by Mr. Snyder to okay claims and accounts in the amount of $73,933.33. Any further discussion from any commissioner at this time? Hearing none, roll call.
Milburn,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Yes,
motion carried.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Item number 9, Administrator Controller Report, please.
So this week, last 2 weeks has really been focused more on just getting this 2021 budget finalized, advertised, double checked by all of the department heads and elected officials, finalizing those motions that are on for you today and prepping for the public hearing. Additionally, just going through the 2020 budget and making sure that allocations are appropriate, and correcting any errors in data entry, budgeting, journal entries, etc. I've had a few emails and conversations with our airport manager trying to prepare for the land swap, which is much needed. Additionally, I have been dealing with a few different personnel issues and some COVID-related potential exposures throughout our community. We also have a couple different maintenance issues that have come forth. I'm super happy with our lead maintenance and our full-time maintenance for the work that they've done in getting those taken care of timely. We do have 2 new full-time positions that one, which is a Roscommon County Juvenile Detention Center position, and then another which will need to be approved by the Personnel Committee for 911 coming through. Mostly I've been focusing too on the few COVID grants we have left. We have approval for payment to the vendor for the prosecutor's office software, which will allow them to work virtually with all of their caseload managements. We also have found that we have been granted approval for the CDBG grant that we discussed at the last meeting and had a public hearing on. So the list that I've compiled of projects and payments for that has been sent and will be reviewed. And that's about all we have right now.
Okay. Any commissioners have any questions of the controller or administrator controller report, please? Ben?
No,
Mark? Tim?
No.
Okay, I'm good. All right. Item 10, correspondence. Item A, Iosco County resolution in regards to, I guess what they're questioning is the governor and her executive orders, but I believe that's already been taken care of. Item B is Michigan County's Workers' Compensation Fund. How much was our dividend check, Jody?
My unmute stuck. Roughly $98,000, which is right on course with where we've been the last few years.
Okay, thank you. Item C is QXMD. Item E is Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities Conference. And item F is DNR State Forest Road Inventory Proposed Changes. We just got a copy of that. MSU, G is MSU New Commissioner Training and Other Events. I don't know if there's any commissioners going to that. I believe it's virtual this year. Am I correct? So, all right, and that's at this point, that's all I got. So, any questions in regards to correspondence from any commissioner at this time, please? Okay. Hearing none. Monthly department reports. We've got a sheriff's report in here. If I can find it. There it is. All right. Any questions in regards to the sheriff's report? Item 12, any visitors would like to be recognized at this time? Okay. Item 13, under unfinished or new business, I do have a quick thing. I don't know if everybody's got it, and it is back to committee appointments. Michelle and her office brought this to our agenda meeting, but we've got some people, like airport committee, there's some people that need to be looked at as far as getting that committee up to 5. All right? Or 7, 5 or 7.
Jody and Eric are appointed also in their capacity, so that makes it the
Okay,
7.
well, Eric's not a voting member, am I correct?
Well, that's kind of unclear according to the minutes.
That's why I'm asking. Anyway, that's got to be defined, all right?
Fine, so,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
The Brownfield Redevelopment Authority's got 3 vacancies, which we need to look at. The EDC's got 2 vacancies, along with a person that is limited out on 12/31/20. Housing is a matter of 5 people being reappointed, so we'll be looking at that. There's 1 Planning Commission vacancy. Veterans, Ken, we talked about that. Is that all set?
We have our meeting tomorrow.
Okay, so Mr. Shepherd and Mr. Marks will be addressed then, right?
Yes,
They're just reappointments, correct?
that's correct.
Okay. And the Wage and Salary Committee that we showed up will need to reappoint Noel, and then we'll have to replace the other 6 people, which we're working on that to get those replacements. I'm hoping we can find them in the building to step up and volunteer for that committee. That's basically a new committee that was set up last year, so. All right. So if you got any commissioners, Mr. Milburn, you're in charge of the airport. Mr. Milburn and I are on the BRA and the Brownfield redevelopment and the EDC. Housing is Mr. Russo. Planning is Mr. Russo. Veterans is Mr. Melvin, and wage and salary is all of us, I guess. So, all right. Any questions in regards to committee appointments?
Just to reiterate, Mr. Chair, yeah, myself, Dave, Jody, Dave Davis, Al Schultz, Bill Leeson, and we're looking for 1 more person, either Norm Fulmer, Ron Duquette, or Hal Hackett.
Okay,
So there's 7 members.
good. You're going to have a representative, Markey Township, on there. That's great.
That's our game plan. We just
Okay.
got to reach out again, and Michelle obviously is there, and Eric is not a voting member.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else from any commissioners? And I'm finished your new business. Ken, got anything?
No,
Okay. Mark? Tim? I'm good. Okay, Michelle, you are up. Take a drink of water. And here we go. Motion number 1, please.
Move to institute employee health insurance premium contributions for the 2021 calendar fiscal year at 5% of the annual health insurance premiums pre-tax and based on the health insurance carrier's definition of plan types. Contracted employees are not currently subject to premium contributions under existing labor contracts. Rates shall be as follows. Plan priority HMO HRA. Plan type single, $10.44 per pay period. 2-person, $25.05 per pay period. Family, $31.32 per pay period.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion is made by Mr. Milburn, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to institute the employee health insurance premiums for 2021 with a 5% annual increase, or for the 5% of the annual health insurance premium. Any further discussion from any commissioner at this time? Hearing none, roll call.
Snyder,
Yes.
Melvin,
yes,
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Milburn.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Motion number 2, please.
Move to authorize the allocation of $217,293 to Central Michigan District Health Department for fiscal year 2021.
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Melvin, seconded by Mr. Milburn to authorize the allocation of $217,293 to the Central Michigan District Health Department for year 2021. Any further discussion? I'd just like to add that that's $8,000 less than last year. So the last 2 years, it's went down $8,000 apiece in both years. So I do think we got things corrected. I'd like to go back another 20 or 30 years, but I can't do it, unfortunately. So
But in fairness too, just so the public knows, that's basically, you can applaud yourself on the back for that. We're the big proponents putting that together.
It took-
Saves taxpayers a grant for our county.
Okay, roll call.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Melvin,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, motion 3, please.
Move to authorize the appropriation of $56,000 to the airport fund for fiscal year 2021.
So move, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Milburn, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to authorize appropriation of $56,000 to the airport fund for fiscal year 2021. Any further discussion, please? Hearing none, roll call.
Melvin,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
motion carried.
Motion 4.
Move to authorize the allocation of $57,425 to the Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Authority for fiscal year 2021.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Muckenthaler, seconded by Mr. Milburn to authorize allocation of $57,425 to Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Authority for fiscal year 2021. Any further discussion from any commissioner at this time? Hearing none, roll call.
Snyder,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Melvin.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Motion 5.
Move to authorize the appropriation of $108,002 to the Friend of the Court for fiscal year 2021.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Oh, take care of this, please.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Snyder, seconded by Mr. Melvin to authorize the appropriation of $108,002 to the Friend of the Court for fiscal year 2021. Any further discussion from any commissioner? Hearing none, roll call.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Melvin,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, motion 6, please.
Move to authorize the appropriation of $200,000 to the Indigent Defense Fund for fiscal year 2021.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Milburn, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to appropriate $200,000 to the Indigent Defense Fund for fiscal year 2021. Any further discussion from any commissioner at this time? Roll call.
Melvin,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
motion carried.
Motion 7, please.
Move to approve the attached agreement for extension services with Michigan State University for fiscal year 2021 at an annual rate of $110,030. The following services will be provided: agriculture, agribusiness, child and youth development, including 4-H, health and nutrition, community enrichment, food and environment, forestry, and gypsy moth.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second. Motion was made by Mr. Milburn, seconded by Mr. Snyder to approve the agreement with Extension Services with Michigan State University for 2021 at an annual rate of $110,030. Any further discussion from any commissioner at this time? Roll call.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Melvin,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. Motion 8, please.
Move to set the soil erosion director salary at an annual salary of $7,800, increase from $7,500, effective January 1, 2021.
I'll make that
I'll make-
motion.
He can.
Motion was made by Mr. Melvin, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to increase the annual salary of the soil erosion director from $7,500 to $7,800, effective January 1st. Further discussion from any commissioner at this time? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Melvin,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item 9.
Move to set the drain commissioner salary at $6,500, increase from $6,120.60, effective January 1, 2021.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion's made by Mr. Milburn, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to set the drain commissioner salary at $6,500 effective January 1st, 2021. Any further discussion from any commissioner? Hearing none, roll call.
Melvin,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Milburn.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion 10, please.
Move to adopt as recommended by the Wage and Compensation Committee, the non-union employee wage scale effective January 1, 2021, with the following modifications from 2020. 2% increase in all steps for grades 2 through 10 and wage range adjustment to grade 1.
Mr. Chair.
Oh,
Are you gonna read the whole thing to Michelle or?
no.
Going to, unless I was directed to.
Okay. I'll second it, but my comment will be, it does note 2% increase in all steps for grades 2 through 10, so it covers everything, okay? All right, any further discussion from any commissioner at this time? Hearing none, roll call.
Melvin,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Milburn.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion 11, please.
Move to approve the adjustment of all salaries for exempt employees as defined under section 13A, 13 subsection A subsection 1 of the Fair Labor Standards Act to a calculation based on the equivalent of a 37.5 average hourly work week effective January 1, 2021. Man, I
I'll
stumbled.
make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Mr. Melvin, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to approve the adjustment for exempt employees for effective January 1st, 2021. Any further discussion from any commissioner at this time? Hearing none, roll call.
Milburn,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Melvin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, motion 12.
Move to adopt the sick time attendance incentive program as attached for fiscal year 2000.
Do you want me to read that?
I just want to point out that it is attached on the back.
It's only one page. Do you want me to read it?
Wait a minute.
We have the agreement for
Oh,
extension.
that's the agreement for extension. Okay.
And you
Yep, go ahead. Go ahead. I think you need to read it. I think it's important enough to read.
Okay. County of Roscommon Sick Time Attendance Incentive Program, general and court non-union employees. Purpose and objectives. The purpose of the Sick Time Attendance Incentive Program is to allow general and court non-union employees whose sick time off balance exceeds 210 hours as of November 1, 2020, to be compensated for up to 70 hours of accrued and unused sick time. Eligibility. Sick time accruing employees must meet the following requirements to participate in the program. Sick time balance must be greater than 210 hours as of November 1, 2020. Ending balance after cash out may not be below 210 hours. Maximum sick time eligible for cash out is 70 hours. Employees who are at the maximum accrual of 960 hours will automatically have 70 hours cashed out. Compensation. Eligible general and court non-union employees are able to elect to convert up to 70 hours sick time to monetary compensation. Payment of sick time cashed out will be at 100% of its value based on the employee's current hourly rate of pay at time of cash out. Example, employee has 300 hours sick time eligible and elects to cash out 60 hours. 60 hours times $28.83 per hour is $1,249.80. Sick time cash outs are considered income under IRS guidelines and are therefore subject to employment taxes and MERS withholdings. Cash out requests. On the 1st of November, a representative of the Administrator Controller's Office will be charged with posting notice of sick time cash out, including providing a current sick time balance to each eligible department head. Employees will submit the requested amount of sick time to be cashed out to their department head no later than Friday, November 6, 2020. Late requests will not be processed. Request will be submitted to Human Resources Payroll for verification of sick time available no later than the second Friday in November. Late requests will not be processed. Checks will be direct deposited unless otherwise requested to payroll. Sick time cash out checks will be processed and available the second pay date in November.
Okay. Remind me, who made the motion?
Nobody.
Okay, looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Motion was made by Mr. Muckenthaler, seconded by Mr. Milburn to adopt the sick time attendance incentive program as attached for fiscal year 2020. Any comment from any commissioner at this time, please? Hearing none, roll call.
Galvin,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
motion carried.
Motion 13, please. You get another whole page to read.
Living the dream. Move to adopt the 2011 Public Act 152 publicly funded health insurance resolution for fiscal year 2021. Whereas the state of Michigan enacted Public Act 152 of 2011, the Publicly Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act, and gave immediate effect on September 27, 2011. And whereas PA 152 sets forth various options that public employers may follow when providing health care benefits to their eligible employees. And whereas the County Board of Commissioners recommends that Roscommon County again formally exercise its legal right to exempt itself from the act for calendar year 2021. And whereas Roscommon County has a long history of proactive budget practices that have resulted in budgets that are balanced and fiscally sound, as demonstrated by decades of actual performance. And whereas medical costs from 2011 through the present time reveal on average the county has remained below the state designated cap levels, thus meeting the spirit of the legislation. And whereas the County of Roscommon has chosen to create an employee premium share program that is more suitable for the economic climate and culture of Roscommon County and its employees. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to the authority granted a county under Section 8 of Public Act 152 of 2011, the Roscommon County Board of Commissioners hereby exempts Roscommon County from the requirements of PA 152 for calendar year 2021.
Okay, motion, please.
So move, Mr. Chair.
A second.
Motion was made by Mr. Milburn, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to adopt the 2011 Public Act 152 Public Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act resolution for fiscal year 2021. Any further discussion from any commissioner at this time? Hearing none, roll call.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Galvin,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Welcome.
Okay, committee reports. Ken, you want to go first since you're out there in Zoom land?
Okay, the only meeting I had was Michigan Works. I attended that in Michigan by way of go-to meeting. I did not attend in person. The meeting went very smooth. Right now, people that register for unemployment do not have to register for work. So the registration for work is down 80%. We are the only Michigan Works, as of the time of our meeting, in the state of Michigan that was open for business. The current unemployment rate for Roscommon County is 11.8%. Of note, we had 1,700 pairs of work boots donated by a gentleman from Gladwin County, and they have all been distributed. Also, this was a surprise to me, $833,842 has already been distributed to businesses in Roscommon County alone for small business restart. I don't know that anybody knew about that, or maybe you do and I hadn't heard about it. So that was that's a big amount of money there that was distributed by Michigan Works so far this year. And then I had the agenda meeting with Bob and Jody. I did that also remotely. That's all.
Okay, Ken, in regards to Michigan Works, what is the unemployment? When did these people start running, or when's their 26 weeks up, I guess is my question.
I don't know that. The Michigan Works isn't in charge of the unemployment as such, but they are assisting people with claims. That's all I know on that end. As far as the dates, people would have their benefits expire, I don't know. I'll have to check.
Okay, did they have anything to say about like a 13-week extension for unemployment benefits to these people? Is there any talk about it?
I don't remember anything being said about that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Tim?
Just the claims and accounts that we had.
Okay, all right, Mr. Milburn?
District Health, Economic Development, Airport. And on a side note, tomorrow at 10 o'clock in Houghton Schools, or I'm sorry, 10 o'clock at Our Lady for Veterans Day celebration, 10:30 at Houghton Lake for Veterans Day celebration. Or at 4:30, we're going to have a Veterans Day. At the VFW, we're going to hand out blankets to veterans, at least have an initial blanket collection. And this is a gentle reminder, next year, Mr. Sheriff, it just kind of, we're looking to do that 9/11 celebration with PJ Stevie, 11 at 8:43, which is a Saturday. Obviously, it's still 10 months out, but at least I want to go on the record that we're looking to do it.
Okay,
Thanks, Mr. Sheriff.
all right. My report, Health Department on the 28th. I did look at the Health Department COVID numbers for Roscommon County. Effective from yesterday, we have 200 and I believe it was 248 cases. Osceola has 247. So we're actually the second lowest out of 6 counties. So they are unfortunately going up. So we need to be safe out there. We did have an EDC meeting via Zoom on the 29th. I don't think you alluded to that, Mr. Milburn.
I said,
Did you? Okay,
yeah,
all right.
I said economic development.
Okay, all right, good. I just wanted to make sure. And then on the 6th, Ken was right. We had the agenda meeting. He attended via Zoom and I was in the office. And I think that's about it. So,
Bob,
yes.
I forgot something about the Michigan Works because I was so involved in talking about it. I didn't make notes, but I remember it now. Community concerns about the placement of prisoners in housing in Roscommon County have been brought to my attention. Also, I've had several discussions with Sheriff Stern about the problems with the placement of prisoners re-entering the system from the Department of Corrections. Michigan Works is the financial disbursement of funds to provide housing for these returning prisoners. They are not returned here from other areas. They needed to have residence here or committed their crime here to be sent back to this area for housing. Now, the probation and parole department for the state of Michigan, which is housed in our county building, has to sign off and approve any placement of these people returning to the area from prison. So there are some checks and balances here. It's not just Michigan Works. They just disperse the funds. The sheriff has indicated that possibly some of these places that are housing these prisoners are being opened and potentially may not be complying with local zoning ordinances. So it's being looked at. We're looking at it. I'm working with the sheriff. We want this to work out. We have to put them somewhere, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew we're working on it. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments in regards to anybody's committee reports at this time? Okay, item 16, any public comment at this time? I'd just like to add to thank, tomorrow being Veterans Day, the county building is closed for Veterans Day. I'd like to to thank Phil Bentley, Mark Milburn, and Ken Melvin for their service. New veteran Herb Navy, Herb Weatherly for his service, and any other people out there that are in Zoom land, and anybody in the county that's a veteran, thank you for your service. And with that, we are closed tomorrow, so celebrate it. Item 17, adjournment, please.
You got public comment.
I did say public comment.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Milburn, seconded by Mr. Muckenthaler to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.